One of the presiding definitions of genius is the ability of an adult to keep the affections of their childhood alive into their mature years, and to keep their perspectives and the visions that they held when they first came across their core conversation with life, through the vicissitudes of an educational system, of earning a living, of making a commitment, of having children, of having to pay the bills, always remembering the core conversation that keeps you in touch with the greater community of what you're a part, visible and invisible, the present and the future. And here's William Wordsworth, 1798, just returned to the mountains of Cumbria from the very flat lands of Cambridgeshire, where he was incredibly unhappy. And he came back thankfully to the mountains and rivers and lakes and stone villages and wild craggy tops of the English Lake District in Cumbria. And he was so happy to be home. And he came back at midsummer and he went to a Midsummer Night's Dance and he danced all night. And then the sun started coming up, dawn started appearing about 4 o'clock in the morning, and he set off home to the village of Hawkshead. And at this time he's under tremendous pressure from all of the adults in his life, particularly his guardians, as he was orphaned from his mother when he was 7 and from his father when he was 13, under tremendous pressure to get a decent job and to take a living in the Church of England as a priest, which was someone else's conversation, someone else's horizon, someone else's intimacy, but not his, And he knew even at that age he wanted to go out in the world as a poet. So Wordsworth is under all of these pressures. He walks out, and he's got such a robustly vulnerable, open heart to this landscape that he's grown in, that, as Camus said, he's living to the edge of tears, And he looks out on this landscape and he sees the sun coming up over the sea, the Irish Sea, flooding this hillscape and lakescape and forestscape and valleyscape and villagescape. And it's just as if he's never seen it as beautiful in his whole existence. And as if he knows that no matter where he lives in the future, this will always be in his bones. This is his home. And it's as if this apprehension on the outside of an elemental, chemical sense of belonging to his world, a physical intimacy that's so powerful, sets up an internal symmetry inside him that enables him to understand his vocation in the future. And there are 2 lines in this poem that just need a bit of explanation, the words having dropped out of the English language over the last 2 centuries. The first word is the word empyrean, which means heavenly or full of heavenly light. And the second phrase is the phrase grain tinctured, which means dyed scarlet. So if you're wearing a grain tinctured jacket, you're wearing a red jacket, the scarlet jacket. So here he is. He says, 2 miles I had to walk along the fields before I reached my home. 2 miles I had to walk. You'll notice a good poet never leaves the details behind. Bad poet is out in the universe and the stars and the cosmos right from the first line, No. There's a story to be told. You were present in the story. You helped to make the story. And the elemental details of the world were there with you, and they're worth chronicling. 2 miles I had to walk along the fields before I reached my home. Magnificent the morning was, a memorable pomp, more glorious than I ever had beheld. The sea was laughing at a distance. All the solid mountains were as bright as clouds, grain tinctured, drenched in empyrean light, while in the meadows and the lower grounds lay all the sweetness of a common dawn, with dews, vapours, and the melody of birds and labourers going forth into the fields. Ah, dear friends, need I say, but to the brim my heart was full. I made no vow, but vows were then made for me. Bond unknown to me was given, that I should be, else sinning greatly, a dedicated spirit. And on I walked in blessedness which even yet remains. Thank you very much. Good night. There once was a tree.